Fala, turma, é com muita satisfação que a gente vai entrevistar hoje o Rob Frith, o cara que descobriu uma fita rara dos Beatles com 15 músicas. Foi notícia no mundo todo. Aqui ao lado está o meu amigo Maurício Pessim e no centro nosso grande convidado aí, o Rob Frith. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Agora vamos lá, Maurício, vamos perguntar para ele como é que essa fita chegou até ele, né? Como é que é a história dessa fita?
Okay, Rob, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we want to start, like asking, what's the story about this magical tape, this Beatles tape? Could you tell us?
Sure. Well, I own a record store in Vancouver, but I also put out historic records, like old records of 60s bands from the Vancouver area or British Columbia area. So I was working on a volume 5 of this series I've been doing over the years. So I had got some master tapes that I got from various band members and was going to go transfer them. So about 2 days before I was to go to the studio, I came across this tape, which I'd known about. It was sitting in my store for 5 or 10 years. It was a reel-to-reel tape, and it was it said Beatles demos on it, 1960 with a question mark. And I just assumed it was like a bootleg tape of like off records and stuff, because it just, it didn't make any sense to be anything else but that. So anyway, I decided I would take it along to the recording studio when I was transferring the other tapes and listen to it. So we got to the studio and transferred everything else, and it was really late. It was like 12:30 at night, and we hadn't eaten. And I thought, I don't care about listening to this Beatle tape, because I just assumed it would just be, something off a record. So the other two guys said, "Oh, just listen to the first bit and just see what it is." So I said, "Okay." So we put it on, and it was like, we're confused, because we're thinking this isn't off a record. This is like the Beatles are in the room with us, and we're just like trying to figure this out, but we're like tired. Anyway, so we played a couple of little bits, and I videotaped them with my phone, and then it wasn't until anyway, and that's it. We never listened to the whole tape, because we kind of knew it was the Decca sessions. Those bootlegs have been out for years, so we just thought, oh, it's the Decca sessions. But the next day, I was thinking about it. I posted this video on my Instagram, and all of a sudden it just starts to go crazy. People are like, I've never, I'm 70 years old. I'm not really big on social media. If I get like 500 likes, I think, wow, that's amazing. Then all of a sudden, today there's like, 66,000 on just one of the videos. And, but anyways, the next day I post this thing, and then the three of us, my friend Doug and the engineer Larry, the three of us start texting each other saying, "This is crazy. This is like something else. Like the sound is just so clear." And so we start investigating stuff online to try to figure out something. And then I had to book that. I think Larry had to go away or something. So then he came back. We went over to the studio to listen to the whole thing and transfer it. And as we were doing it, we noticed that there's a splice at the end of one of the songs. And anyways, we listened to some bootlegs online, and that same splice is there. It's like they fixed something when they recorded. There was some little glitch, so they fixed 2 different spots. Anyways, our tape has the actual tape that fixed the thing. It's like on our tape. Where anyway, so there kept being these clues that maybe it's more than just like a copy of the master tape, that it could be the actual real thing. And there's like a lot of Beatle experts are saying that the original tape was lost years ago. So we're not sure. We're just we know that it's definitely like a really either the copy off the master, like from back in the day, or it's a possibility it could be the master. We've heard tales that the master was lost years ago. Anyway, so what we got, we're trying to still figure what it is.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm gonna translate a bit. Então, Marcos, ele tá falando que ele tinha essas fitas há 5, 10 anos, né? Talvez estava lá e uma noite foram verificar o que era, né? Ouviram a primeira, né? E falava que estranho, o som tava muito claro, parecia que a gente tava com os Beatles aqui na sala, mas tava com sono e tal, e foram ver melhor no dia seguinte. E no começo eles estavam achando, ele, o Larry, né, e o outro amigo, esqueci o nome, e estavam achando que podia ser um bootleg, né, do começo ali, mas não, a fita parece que tem alguns traços, alguns splices, né, algumas coisas que seria ou uma cópia da própria fita original, da Master Tape, ou a própria Master Tape que sumiu, que está perdida já faz um tempo, né, e eles ainda estão investigando.
É confirmado, Maurício, olha com ele isso, é confirmado que ele é o único proprietário dessa fita, quer dizer, não existe uma cópia dela, porque não, se for, ele se tornou uma figura lendária assim, no cenário mundial, né? Porque, poxa vida,
Sim.
ele faz parte da história
Rod,
dos Beatles agora, de alguma forma.
sem dúvida. Marcos is asking if there is any confirmation that this is a single copy. You said you are still investigating if it is the original or a copy of the master tape. Have you looked for it? Are you the single owner of it? How is this thing for you at the moment?
Well, as far as ownership, I bought it from someone I bought a record collection from years ago. I bought everything, and they worked as an engineer in the recording industry, so I knew who they were. So, and they had this tape, which the tape originally there was a guy that owned a record label in Vancouver, and he also owned a recording studio, and he actually went to England in the late '60s to get some distribution deals, maybe get other artists to record some of the songs of his label artists, and the story is that his name's Jack Hershore, and he went to Decca and knew someone that worked there, I think as a producer, and Jack was originally from California, and I think he knew him from there. So he actually got this tape right from Decca Records. So that's another clue that it is close to the original. At the beginning, I thought maybe it's just a safety master off the original. But then as we keep finding out little pieces of information, it keeps getting closer to being maybe the original master. But yeah, that's what we know so far. As far as what we're going to do with it, I've offered to give it to Paul McCartney in person if he wants to come and get it. I know it's worth a lot of money. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm a Beatle fan. I love the Beatles, and I think it should go to the band member. Someone suggested that maybe we should give it to Pete Best if Paul doesn't want it. But that's kind of where we're going with it. I know I'm going to have a charity event. I'll be playing it one more time, the master tape in Vancouver. We're going to make it an all ages thing. People will pay a fee to get in, but we're donating 100% of the money to a charity. So that's so some of the public can hear, because we have so many requests, because it's been in every newspaper or every news thing in Canada. So it's quite a thing here.
Oh, that's so amazing. I was about to ask if you are a Beatles fan, and very admirable if you give it to charity or. Oh, but I was thinking, is this the only recorded material from Pete Best, or is there anything else?
I don't know. It might be because there's the Quarrymen stuff with the Beatles, but I don't think Pete Best was in that. But I'm not sure. I should know that. I'm a huge fan. There must be some Hamburg stuff, right? Because he was there. I think there's some live recordings from there, and the Cavern Club. But I'm not sure if Ringo's in the band at that time. I should actually get that.
Oh, probably maybe the only record with Pete as the Beatles, maybe.
Yes, that would make sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna translate. Então, Marcos, ele falou, né, que até onde ele entende, né, esse material estava em Vancouver com o pessoal que tinha contato nos anos 60, foi para a Decca, né, que era a gravadora dos Beatles ali. Então esse material esteve lá, ou pode ter estado lá, ou foi adquirido lá, então existe um rastro, né, de que provavelmente pode ser uma cópia de segurança, pode ser uma cópia muito próxima da master tape, ou a própria master tape, né, então existem indícios pela trajetória que essa fita passou de que é realmente aquilo, né. E ele falou que é um fã dos Beatles e que ofereceu, talvez, entrar em contato com o Paul McCartney, e se o Paul não quiser, talvez para o próprio Pete Best, né? Que ele fez uma audição pública em Vancouver, vai fazer mais uma, todo o dinheiro da exibição vai ser doado para caridade, ele não está pensando nisso, né? E aí eu perguntei se isso seria a única gravação do Pete Best, né? Ele falou, não, talvez tenha alguma coisa nos ao vivo de Hamburg, ou alguma outra coisa do Quarrymen. E aí eu falei, bom, talvez seja a única coisa do Pete Best como Beatles. Aí ele falou, é provável que seja.
Agora, aí vem essa curiosidade, né? Qual foi a visão que ele teve do Pete Best nos Beatles? Ele gostou? Trazia a mesma energia que... Não a mesma energia que o Ringo, né? Mas trazia um laço interessante, assim, musicalmente falando.
Uhum. Uhum. Marcus is asking, Rob, as a Beatles fan, you must have some opinions about Ringo and the little we could hear from Pete. When you heard the tape, what did you think about Pete's approach? Do you think it could have turned into something else, or what's your opinion? What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's, hey, they were so young that, all of them. I think, George was still a teenager, I think, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus, it was recorded on New Year's Day. So, people were probably celebrating. I know apparently all the engineers were hungover that were working at the studio that day. And plus, the Beatles had driven all the way from Liverpool to London, and they had to be there at 11 o'clock in the morning. So they probably weren't at their best. Well, the other thing that happened apparently is that when they got there, they brought all their amps, stuff they're used to. And I don't know about the drums, but they were told they're not allowed to use their own amps. They had to use the studio ones, and that threw them off. So I would say that a combination of things, none of them were probably at their best, especially Pete Best. No, but I would say that it was they could have had a better situation where they would have sounded better. And I mean, they played together for so long, so I don't think there would be, they obviously were good as a band. They played a lot, and they were popular in Liverpool and in Germany. So I would say that, I can't really say anything bad about Pete's drums, but in the recordings, the drums are not out front as much as they could have been. So again, it could be from the drunk engineers. I'm not sure, but it's not the perfect recording, but it is magical. And some of the songs, like the vocals, are just incredible. And but yeah, I don't want to sort of say anything negative about Pete Best. The guy is a famous drummer that played with the Beatles. He must have been pretty good to be playing with them for as long as he did.
Yeah, I was talking to Marcus. Pete, he sounded a bit more swingy than Ringo. Ringo was more inventive, and what we could hear from the tape, from the Instagram, there's some catchy, drumming, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is too, with Ringo wasn't a busy drummer, but he did interesting things, and people have panned Ringo, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. The guy was an amazing drummer and still is. So, but yeah, I don't really like to judge. I mean, this is early Beatles when they're young. They evolved into the biggest and best band in the world. Whether Pete would have been able to do what Ringo did and make the same difference on the later recordings, that I don't know. I mean, he was a young guy as well. You know, he may have evolved and been as good as Ringo, you know, in the later years, but I don't know.
Yeah, Ringo was the most famous member of the band in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was more successful. Like they were kind of
Yeah.
enamored by him. Like, you know, he was in. I actually have a poster of the band. John, was it Johnny Hurricane? Actually, can't remember the name. Anyway, he was in the band, and yeah, they kind of looked up to him. They hung out with him. I think, did they meet in Germany? I can't remember where it was, but anyways, it was definitely, they were fans of Ringo, and Ringo was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Where I think there was some conflict with Pete Best and the rest of the band, and Pete, you know, I think they played at his mom's place a lot, and Pete was kind of, I don't know. I think John and Paul liked to be the leader, and I think the leaders, and I think that Pete Best was sort of kind of trying to be the leader too, or at least have a little bit more control of things. That's what it seemed. I've read Pete's book and I've read other things. You know, I don't remember all the details, but it seemed like there was more of a personality thing rather than a drumming thing with the Beatles and him. You know, now that I'm thinking about it.
That's great. Então, Marcos, eu perguntei, né, e ele falou, bom, eles eram muito jovens, né, quando o Pete estava na banda. Talvez o Pete tivesse andado feito, né, continuado, teria se tornado tão inventivo e uma referência como o Ringo, né. Eu comentei que a gente achou, né, a música bem dançante, bem vibrante, muito gostosa, a bateria do Pete é interessante, né. Mas eles conheceram o Ringo na turnê ali na Alemanha e tal, eles gostavam, todos eles eram fãs do Ringo, e aí parece que tinha uma questão de personalidade com o Pete. Não era uma questão dele não ser um bom baterista, mas parece que ele também queria ser um dos líderes, aquela coisa, né, líder demais, cacique demais, índio de menos, né, então, aí acabou meio que encaminhando para o Ringo.
Se equilibrou, verdade. Agora, qual foi a emoção que ele sentiu, assim, de perceber, na hora que ele percebeu, né, que estava com essa obra-prima em mãos? Como é que foi isso para ele, assim, emocionalmente falando?
Rob, Marcus is asking, and I am very curious too. What did you feel? What was your emotion? Like, when you realized what you had in your hands, when you, like, all the perception came to you, and oh my God, I may have the master tape from Beatles with Pete Best. What did you feel at the moment?
Well, a little bit of background. You know, I've owned my record store for 44 years, and I run into all kinds of rare, interesting things. And I just recently bought, you know, Jimi Hendrix autograph on an original poster, which was mind blowing. I was so excited. I got a Led Zeppelin, the whole band autographed album, which I bought as well recently. So I'm used to finding rare and really interesting things. But this was a whole other level. You know, this is, you know, a band that changed my life as a kid of 8 years old in 1963 in Canada. The Beatles were popular in Canada before they were in the United States. I don't know what it was like in Brazil, what year they became famous there, but we got them pretty early because we were, you know, associated with England. Anyway, so to hear the tape, like, you know, and I'm in a room with a friend of mine who's a total music fan, and Larry, who is one of the most popular radio DJs in Vancouver for years, and an engineer, and we've heard everything, and to hear that hear that music was absolutely mind-blowing, where it seemed like the Beatles, you know, my favorite band of all time, were in the room with us. And that was, and I've heard lots of master tapes, but this was a Beatles master tape, and it wasn't their best recordings or anything, but it was so just like over the top. Like, how could this even happen? Like, why would there be like, this was before we knew where the tape came from. We're just trying to think, how is this even possible? This is just like, we're just our brains are working overtime trying to figure this out, because we had no idea. It just didn't make sense that there could be a master tape in Vancouver. There's no reason for it. So yeah, it's still kind of mind blowing, and we're still just trying to figure things out. But I've transferred a copy onto CD, and I've played it for some of my good customers when they come into the store. And every time I hear it, it sends shivers down my spine. I just can't believe it. It's just, to this day. I mean, maybe it'll be like that forever. I don't know, but it is very, very exciting.
You said it, like it's the realization of something magical, right?
It really was. It really is magical. It still is. And I mean, I think the first day was like confusion. The second day was, holy cow, what is this? And then the last couple of weeks have been, we're just trying to figure it out. And every couple of days there's another thing we find out that makes it look more original. And definitely, it's definitely, if for some reason there is a master out there that we don't know about, because of what we've read of people saying that it was gone years ago, this definitely is off the master. That I mean, the tape is so quiet. There's no hiss, no noise at all. It's just absolutely silent except for the music. So it's definitely, if it's not the original, it's definitely off the original.
From the master tape. That's amazing.
That sounds like to us.
Então, ele está dizendo, né? Ele começou dizendo que, como ele trabalha com essa loja há 44 anos, né? Ele tem coisas incríveis, como autógrafos dos 4 membros do Led Zeppelin, coisas do Jimi Hendrix. Então, não é que encontrar coisas raras seja uma novidade. Mas ele falou, a hora que ele se tocou, a expressão é mind-blowing, né? A mente explode, é incrível, né? No primeiro dia foi confusão, depois uma espécie de negação, e depois foi, nossa, será? E ele falou que a cada 2 dias, eles descobrem alguma coisa, eles estão rastreando para ver se pode ser realmente a master tape, né? Teve uma questão que ele falou, que os Beatles explodiram primeiro no Canadá do que nos Estados Unidos, talvez pela relação do Canadá com a Inglaterra, né? Então essas coisas estão caindo, assim, e ele falou que ele fez uma cópia em CD da fita, né? E que ele toca algumas vezes para alguns clientes que estão lá na loja, e ele falou, cada vez que eu ouço, eu me arrepio todo, né? E um indício que eles têm de que é ou a master, ou se não for a master, veio direto da master, é que a fita é totalmente quieta, né? Não tem ruído, não tem nada, é só ela. Então parece que eles estavam na sala com eles, né? Então...
Impressionante. Que impressionante. Maurício, agora vem aquela história. Essa fita, ela alcançou uma projeção mundial. O mundo todo sabe da história do Rob Frith, né? Quer dizer, ele se tornou um ícone agora. E a questão é, quem foi quais foram as primeiras pessoas que ele entrou em contato, assim, quando ele teve esse impacto? Que, tudo bem, aí chegou aos jornalistas, aos jornais, né? Mas qual foi a primeira pessoa que ele falou, cara, eu tenho que contar para essa pessoa, assim?
Marcus is asking something very interesting. Okay, all of a sudden, you became like a worldly known because of the tape, right? Yeah. And you mentioned that you were not into like social media, and all of a sudden you have like many likes and whatever. But even before the media, even before the journals, who did you tell it? Oh, I might have found something magical here. Who was the first person besides your friends you told about it?
Well, there was my wife when I got home that night, and then I guess, I mean, it all happened so quickly. It was like the next day I post this little video, which I explained, saying is this even possible that there could be a master tape in Vancouver? And then it just exploded from that. And then John Mackey, a writer for the Vancouver Sun newspaper in Vancouver, he phoned me, like, right, because he follows me on Instagram. He phones me and says, "Hey, what's the deal with this tape?" And then he says, "We got to do an article on this." So then in the meantime, someone commented, a singer from the band called the Powder Blues. He had been in the studio where this tape came from in Vancouver and said they used to listen to this thing in like the late 60s, early 70s when they used to work in that studio. They would put it on when some famous person came to record. They'd put this tape on and say, "Hey, we got this tape of the Beatles," and they would play it. So, and he told us where it came from, that the guy that owned the studio, he went to England and got it. So that was early information. And anyway, the people I told it to, I never really told it to anybody except for people that work for me in my store, my family. And then it was the Vancouver Sun that sort of put it out there. And then all of a sudden I'm getting calls from people I know, texts and Instagram messages. And then from that Vancouver Sun article, all these radio stations and TV stations, they see it and they start getting a hold of me. So I've never phoned anybody or tried to contact any media. They all contacted me. That's been the whole thing. Do you know who Nardwar is? The famous interview guy. He does a lot of interviews, but he just did an interview. Do you know Nardwar, the human serviette? Yeah. Anyways, I do. You can see that thing behind me there. There's like a sort of a wolf thing. He does a lot of his interviews in this room in the basement of my store. So he just interviewed the band Franz Ferdinand. They just he interviewed them a few days ago, and Alex, the singer who I'm friends with, he always shops in my store when he's in town. I played him the tape as well. And he thought for sure that it's got to be a master tape. Like, and he knows recording. He's, done it his whole life and stuff. But yeah, he was really impressed as well.
There's something in the clip, like we are dealing with Instagram's poor sound quality. And even on Instagram, you can realize it's very good. It's very clear, right? There's a lot of dynamics, even on Instagram.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that too, because I'm thinking, how good is it going to sound on Instagram? But people say, yeah, they're just blown away by how good it sounds. But when people actually hear even the CD copy here, they're just they can't believe it. I've had people with tears in their eyes that come in that I've played it for. I'm so excited about it.
Marcos, ele disse que, lógico, a primeira pessoa foi a esposa dele, né? Além dos dois amigos. E ele fez o vídeo ainda na ideia de, será que é verdade? Será que pode ser possível? E um jornalista, né, de Vancouver, que segue ele, quis fazer uma matéria na hora, a gente precisa fazer um artigo e tal, né? E a coisa foi meio por aí, né? Ele mesmo falou para a mulher, para os amigos ali, pessoal da loja, e foi isso. Mas a notícia se espalhou, então toda hora ele recebe contato, quer falar, quer contar história, né? Mais ou menos como nós fizemos. E ele estava contando algo, né? Que tem um entrevistador famoso lá de Vancouver que grava muitas coisas no porão dele lá, entrevistou o Franz Ferdinand recentemente. E o Alex, né, do Ferdinand, vai lá e compra na loja dele quando está na cidade. E ele chegou a ouvir, né? E o cara falou: não, tem que ser uma master, não tem como. Não tem como não. É muito claro, é muito boa a qualidade.
Que legal, meu. Maurício, agora o que acontece? A gente sabe que a música Now and Then, que foi a última música dos Beatles, né? Ela precisou de passar por um processo de IA para ficar boa.
Uhum.
Então os caras tiveram que ir lá utilizar a inteligência artificial. Quer dizer, os caras já estão na rapa do tacho com Beatles, não tem mais nada, né? E também teve 2 documentários, se não me engano, um eu tenho certeza, mas eu acredito que tenha sido 2, do período que eles fizeram a gravação lá no estúdio Abbey Road, não é isso? Em Londres.
Uhum.
Então, o que acontece? Querendo ou não, o Rob tá com um material, assim, com um potencial comercial gigantesco Como é que tá? Será que vai ter uma procura? Será que as gravadoras vão procurar ele? Como é que vai ser isso, né? Eu acho que o mundo todo está querendo saber o conteúdo, né, dessa fita. E pela qualidade que ele está citando, quer dizer, não precisa, vai precisar passar por inteligência artificial nem nada, né?
Eu vou perguntar se ele gostaria que isso acontecesse também. Rob, Marcus is asking, the last thing we heard from the Beatles was Now and Then, that received that AI treatment, right?
Yes.
And the world is always avid for new Beatles material and stuff like that. What's in your heart? What do you think about this tape? Would you be happy if it became like a new record and remastered, AI improved? Or would you, like, in your heart, would you prefer it to be with Pete or with Paul and just for like the Beatles archives? What do you think about it?
I would love it to be released. Have a decent copy of this because it's been bootlegged for years. So it would be wonderful if they could release it now that this is an amazing tape. And then one of them can have the tapes. You know, I just love to see it released. I mean, I think if I don't hear from Paul to hand him the tape, I think that I will attempt to get a hold of, I think it's, I forget what label it is that brought out Decca, but I think I would try to get a hold of them and see if I could put it out and just pay them the royalties, if that's a thing. It doesn't seem like something they would do to, you know, a smaller time, you know, record label. But, you know, we sell a lot of new vinyl from the label that owns it. So, you know, they could look at our record of how much stuff we sell. You know, I know that when I put out records, I can sell just out of my store alone 1,000 copies or more. So I think that, you know, a Beatle album sells itself. So it would be easy to, if they're not interested in putting it out, but if they would lease it out, the rights, you know, I own the tape, but I don't own the rights to the music. So, but if they were able to do some kind of a deal, I would put it out myself if they let me. I would definitely not let anybody bootleg it. I wouldn't give anybody a tape. It needs to be in the hands of Paul or Pete Best or the record label that owns the rights to it.
Amazing. And you have the technical ability to put it on. So yeah, I understand your point. Last I knew was that I think Michael Jackson had the Beatles rights, wasn't it?
He had the publishing, so that's different from the rights of the recorded music. So, but then I remember at one time he needed money, so he sold part of the publishing, and I'm not sure. His family may have sold the rest back to the big label that bought it. I'm not sure. I just don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, so there's the publishing, but most of the songs that they recorded on this thing are written by other people. So the publishing, you'd have to deal with other publishers, but I think it's the rights of the actual master tape, or not even the master tape. It's whoever recorded it and has the rights to that recording. And so even though I own the tape, I don't have the rights to what's on it, you know, to do it with. I'd have to get permission, and which I would do in a second. If I could get permission, I would put it out and do a wonderful job.
That's great. Então, ele falou que gostaria muito que isso fosse lançado, né? É um material muito bom. Existem as questões legais, né? Que, por exemplo, o fato dele ter, talvez, a master tape em mãos, não significa que ele detenha o direito sobre o que está lá, né? Eu perguntei a questão do Michael Jackson, que falou muito quando ele morreu, tal, que o Michael Jackson tinha o direito, ele explicou que era o direito de publicação, né, da publishing, né, do repertório dos Beatles, que uma parte foi vendida, outra parte talvez já tenha sido vendida, as empresas devem ter comprado de novo. Enfim, é um processo para lançar esse material, envolve muita gente, a gravadora, espólio, talvez os compositores, né? dessas músicas, já que não eram ainda criadas pelos Beatles, né? Mas que deve ter um caminho, não deve ser muito difícil, porque tudo dos Beatles é muito conhecido, né? E se o Paul não quiser, se a gravadora não quiser, ele tem a qualidade técnica, ele tem as possibilidades de produzir e lançar, né? Se houver interesse, se conseguir a parte legal, ele faria isso num minuto e ficaria muito feliz. Ele quer que esse material exploda.
Maravilha. Maurício, você acha que já tem algum contexto a mais que deveria ser colocado na entrevista? O que você acha?
Vamos perguntar se alguma coisa que ele queira falar sobre ele e tal, né? E é isso, que a gente tinha combinado uma entrevista mais curta, né? Então,
pessoal saber um pouquinho.
Sim, sobre ele. So, Rob, again, we're very happy to talk to you. We could talk to some people like Bob Daisley and Scott from Pink Floyd, and we started like very nice interviews, and you are one of those people that we had the pleasure to have here on our little chat. We briefly talked, and I think you had some kind of event after the interview. If you want to share with us something about you, about the tape, about your views, feel free, but that's it. This space is yours.
Well, thank you so much. I will, I'm happy that you got a hold of me. Did you want me to talk about something else, or are we done for the night?
We're done if you want to say something else, but we're very happy and very excited about what you said and hoping that you can release it.
Well, hopefully I can get a hold of you one day and ask you how many records you want to order of the ones I'm printing up.
Oh, I would love to order a lot of vinyls and stuff like that.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rob. É isso, Max. Ele é isso. Perguntou quantas cópias que a gente vai querer e tal. Eu falei que eu quero um monte.
Fechou. Mas vamos agradecer o Rob, então. Dar um muito obrigado para ele, né? Falar com ele qualquer notícia que ele tiver, por favor, pode entrar em contato, que a gente vai anunciando, a gente vai deixando o pessoal aqui em contato também. Thank you, Rob. É isso.
Rob?
Yeah.
Rob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. Thank you again. And if you have any news about if you can track even more details about the tape's origin, please tell us.
I'll send you any new updates I find. I'm hoping to find out some stuff maybe this week.
Great. We will update Brazil about it.
Thanks again. Have a good day.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.